That was very strange.
That's gonna sound
Looking
really
into
nice.
each other's eyes whilst opening a bottle of red.
Don't worry about it.
You're getting inside to our Friday evening.
That is.
We're not even going to talk to you. We're on a date. You're just here
I'm going to sit the other side of the table.
I'm just a third wheel.
100%.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Scratch Record Podcast. Today we are joined by Kerrie Cosh, the BBC Radio, introducing DJ from Northamptonshire. How are we getting on? Are you all right?
It's nice to see you both.
Yeah, it's nice to be here in person, actually.
It's nice, isn't
Last time we spoke, we went well off tangent, and my producer told me to shut up and get off the phone.
I mean, for our radio debut, it was always going to be a little bit ropey. I think you're lucky. We spoke before, and I was like, Elliot, this is serious. Like, it is the radio now. Like, we can't be like, oh, whoops, we've got to be.
Yeah, I've just called someone.
Yeah, let's just, like, our podcast was very liberal. I was like, that's not what the real world's like. It's like, come on, mate, There was one point when you said something, I can't remember now.
I went to call you a...
Call me something, and I thought in my head, Elliot!
This is the BBC!
And then you, changed and said something, and I was like, he's got
what was it?
Yeah.
No, I think the thing that I completely forgot that I was on radio, it was when I said about mainstream media. And I made a joke about mainstream media, and you then picked up on it, and I was like... Yeah, look, I'm on mainstream media. I was like, shit, I actually probably can't say that.
I was like, this is the BBC Radio Northampton, thank you.
Like, amazing news.
It's
Completely forgot where we were.
One of those comments you can see a cut to an ad break, and it's like, yep, see you later, boys.
Yeah,
Sat there thinking to myself, are they going to last more or less than 7 minutes? Let's find out.
Well, we managed to do all right because it ruined the plan for the producer, so I'll take it as a win. That's a win from us.
It definitely was, and you dropped a hot take about 1975 as well.
Yeah. You said Coldplay. Your hot take was on Coldplay.
I can't remember.
Oh, that upset a few people, especially.
Did it actually?
Yeah, do you know what? I actually that day, and I started laughing so hard I had to put my mic down because I had Coldplay and BTS lined up to play next. I was like, I've got to change.
Oh, that's superb. That's well funny.
Amazing. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised. I'm more surprised they didn't you didn't pull a shorter. Like, the producer didn't like Kerrie. Like, you got...
I just let you go off on one until I was told you need to finish this.
Amazing.
That's good stuff. Well, now you get to sit in here and literally do that for as long as you're willing to literally sit here.
Well, you know what? This is a polar opposite for me, I'll be honest, because obviously, always being in radio, I've always been told, don't swear in front of a live mic. And now I'm sat here, apparently allowed to swear in front of a live mic.
How does it feel? Do you want to do it?
You can say whatever. You were so nervous about it. Like,
go on. Just dropping a fuck shit one.
Yeah!
We got a...
That's going to be a quick.
It all drops down. This is the radio. You sat.
All of the things you got down. BBC introducing Northampton.
It was all a test.
The BBC will never have me back now. I'm done.
That must be weird. Like, is it nice to just be able to sit and there's not someone in your ear being like, you've got to do this? Like, it's just...
I reckon so. It's a weird feeling, you know, because on a podcast, obviously, like, you can just talk as much as you want.
Yeah.
But on the radio, you have to be very mindful of how long you're talking for. Like, if I go on for 2.5 minutes, I know people are going to be bored shitless. So I'm like, wrap it. Whereas on a podcast, it's like you can go off on a tangent and start talking about, I don't know, baby whales and shit.
Yeah, it's the whole point. It's essentially the whole point of a podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not necessarily baby whales, but, like, going off on tangents is the whole stick of...
I can't really picture a baby whale.
No, I can't picture a baby whale either.
You don't see many pictures
I'm just
of baby
thinking
whales,
of a cartoon like whale. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's like, you know, like a little...
Are they not born like a tadpole size and then they just grow to be...
Surely not. A sperm whale and, like, it does not come out like that. Sure.
Sperm to sperm whale.
Golden retriever?
Yeah, that...
A baby whale is the size of a golden retriever.
I'm thinking more like a rowboat.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Imagine pushing a rowboat out. Do they give birth? Yeah. Fish lay eggs, so don't they?
Do they?
But whales are mammal.
Whales are a mammal.
Pop one out?
Whales are mammals, so
I was just thinking a whale egg would be fucking huge, wouldn't it?
I mean, I don't
someone
think
would have made an
anyone's
omelette with it.
Yeah, no one's ever filmed a whale birth, though, have they?
Oh,
I mean, we could definitely, I'm sure we'll find it.
It's just when we need a research person to jump straight in and be like, can you pull down a whale birth for us? We'll have a little watch of that.
Just a drop down projector comes down behind the screen.
It's like the baby pigeon thing, though. Like, they must exist, but it's just, you don't really see them, do you?
Yeah, they're probably just little weedy and they stick about, like, out the way.
Are we on pigeons now or
both?
Wales? Right, yeah,
both. I can imagine David Attenborough is not. Well, surely he does. He didn't. He do the whole what was the breeding one this year?
His latest one in the series of Attenborough.
Yeah, I don't want to see Attenborough breeding with anything. That sounds like...
I honestly feel like Attenborough can make a documentary about a grasshopper and make it for an hour and just commentate on it, and I'd probably be like, yep. Lap that shit up.
I went to a night out where the t-shirts were. It was like a I can't remember what event it was, but they were doing theme nights, and one of them was a David Attenborough theme night.
Oh yeah, they had one of them at uni. Like people wear masks and shit.
Yeah, and they give out like t-shirts with David Attenborough on, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah,
I do love David Attenborough.
Same. I would love to be that good a voiceover.
Yeah,
to just be able to be like, and the whale went to the sea. Yeah, see, I'm not getting a job, as you can tell. I'm not going for the Blue Planet job.
That was a little bit. We can make it work. We'll work on it.
Yeah, I'm sure practice makes perfect.
No, I just sound like a pervert, so...
It's a funny job to be able to discover how you can do that, though. Like, do you reckon he was just talking, like, after he's made for coffee and he's like...
No, because he was a venturer, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he used to go around finding and writing books about it. So I think it was one of them ones where they went, "I will give you a radio show back in like the 60s." Do you know what I mean? Where they were like, "Right, talk about what you've discovered," and then went from there. I assume. Do you know what I think? Because I think it was it sounds like he's got a BBC 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where they give him something, where they talk about something, and everyone's like, "Hey, your voice is all right." Do you know what I mean? At the end of it, BBC just snatched him up and like, "You're never leaving, ever."
Do you think he can make a career out of Hinge voice notes? Like, I feel like if he ever wanted to retire from the telly, from the radio, from media, I feel like Attenborough recording you a Hinge voice note would be
superb.
I'd pay for it.
Get himself on Cameo. 10 grand.
Could you imagine?
10 grand for Happy Birthday. People will fucking pay it. Imagine that. Happy Birthday from David Attenborough.
It'd be amazing.
We were looking on Cameo today, and there's some funny people on it. This is how busy work was. I made a comment about how expensive things are, and they were like, "Oh, really?" And I went on. People charge random actors that have been in. I was looking at The Office, the US one, to get it for my brother for his birthday because he loves it, and I was like, surely there's a minimal character that would be like 30 quid for a little thing. Nothing under £200.
What?
Nothing under £200.
200 quid?
200 quid.
It's absurd.
Say happy birthday.
Surely you can get an X Factor reject from 2010 to do you a
honestly, I bet they're still £250, £300.
Say who's the most absurd? You know that Island Boys, the weird boys? Their minimum is something like £2,000.
I'd just sit and do that.
Yeah.
Because they'll get requests. People will request it.
Oh, yeah.
And you just sit and bang out a little happy birthday for people every now and again.
Surely.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, to get to famous enough where you can just charge £500 to say happy birthday to someone.
So easy as well. You could just literally be in bed, couldn't you? Let's do it. All right, that's 50 quid, thanks.
Have you seen all the Nigel Farage stuff?
Oh yeah, and they make him say random shit.
So much horrendous stuff. It's so good. It's so good. That type of stuff, when Nigel Farage is on it, you're just it's just easy game to make him say something fucking stupid.
Yeah, they were giving him stuff in another language and he was just saying it, weren't they? And then he translated it and it was just I'm a nonce. Cameo as well. Good.
Amazing stuff. Well, we do actually have a first segment that have been doing for these comeback ones, and they are one-word answer questions.
Wonderful.
So I'm going to give you a question and you just give us one word back and whatever comes to mind straight away.
Can we show you the plan?
I mean, our planning is so good.
Welcome to the podcast. If any audio listeners, there is a blank piece of paper in its notebook that just says Kerrie Cosh, underlined, and not a single other word on it.
I can see you've spent some real time on that. Yeah. I'm really glad.
Well, you know me, I'm very prepared for everything.
I'm glad it's still open. It's still opened it up.
It's because, if you notice, I've been playing with a pen as if I'm going to write something down, and every now and then I feel like I've got a point to make in the podcast, so I look up and forget that I'm meant to do that at the same time.
That's amazing.
Well, so, what's the last thing you do before you go to bed?
Text.
Yeah,
you've got to, haven't you? You've got to text somebody till you fall asleep, basically. I'm one of these people that at the crucial point of having a conversation, I'll be asleep and you need to wait 3 to 4 business days for a reply.
That is mental.
That is mental.
I could not fall asleep if I was texting.
No one is awake.
I almost broke my nose once. I woke up in the morning and I had a big bruise across my face because my phone just slapped onto my face.
So you'd be mid-text and then just
Yeah, sometimes people ask me a really decisive question. I'm like, no, gone. gone. Snoring, mate. Snoring. Done.
Very interesting, actually. Like I listen to the same podcast, not the same podcast, but a football podcast that comes out daily.
Called Football Day.
Yeah, BBC. Football Daily podcast. Shout out to Mark Chapman, who's listening. And
definitely, yeah.
He might be. And
now we'll tag you.
I can't sleep without listening to that. But I feel like that's quite normal because it's just a bit of like background noise. But actually, physically texting is quite wild.
I fall asleep to YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
I can't text. Well, my girlfriend sleeps at 9 o'clock and I only sleep till like 2. So like, don't text. Like, do you know what I mean?
All of his friends ignore it. I wouldn't reply.
Yeah, no one would reply to me at 2 o'clock.
Even if I was awake, I wouldn't reply.
You know the most infuriating thing? I'll fall asleep sometimes watching Netflix and I will accidentally just nod off, and 4 episodes later, I open my eyes and I look and I'm like, shit.
Everyone's dead. And you're like, oh. Yeah, that is funny, to be fair. I do that. But sometimes I have like The Office on or something and I just drift off. And then I'm like, you wake up and you're like 3 series further down the line and you're like, what, go.
This is such longer than one word.
Yeah, sorry, one word.
Sorry, one word.
Best drink?
Di Serrano.
Oh, good
I love
choice.
a Di Serrano.
Good choice. What do you think of the metaverse?
One word.
Shit.
Radio the future?
Yes.
BBC the future?
Yes.
Interesting.
I mean, some people might disagree.
I'm sure we can deliver.
Being impartial.
What do you think on YouTube?
Futuristic. Futuristic.
Good. What's your favourite crisp?
Doritos.
It's weird to say what's your favourite crisp, but not what's your favourite packet of crisps. Crisp. Come on.
Thank you, Joe.
You do what?
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
What would your character be in a film?
Villain.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Favourite type of music?
Good.
Yeah.
What is rock and roll? I'm definitely going to cut this
No, leave it in.
in my head. I've edited.
It shows the quality of the question, I think. A nice long pause.
Banging.
Like it.
Shoes or socks?
Shoes.
Yeah, quality. I've got no more.
That was good. Where the shoes or...
Well, do you like knocking about in shoes or socks? Because I'm force a habit. I knock about in shoes because of uni.
As in, like, round your house?
Yeah, like just putting about.
I thought you meant that's not a uni thing to wear shoes. I was like, that's just life, mate.
But like, I just
You wear shoes in your house?
Not really upstairs because my mum will throw a slipper at me or something. But like, I'll keep them on in the house just out of force of habit. Mum and Dad are always like, "Why have you got your shoes on?" I'm like, "Because you don't walk around barefoot."
Do you actually? Like, I just can't get on board with shoes in the house. Like,
really?
I've always been taught to take them off the second you come in.
Yeah.
Put them, wipe your feet on the mat, take them off.
I think no, because I do when I come in, but it's when I wake up and I will get dressed and put shoes on.
The thing is, I get if you're going between the house and up here.
I think that's it, because I literally come up here all the time, so I finish what I'm doing in the house and I'm like up here and I'm down there.
Not that the studio's near a house. It's not. It's penthouse in New York.
Yeah, we're in central London, actually.
See, the thing is, I will never wear shoes until the last moment, but
really?
I love shoes. Yeah, like I love shoes, I have a good collection of them. Love collecting different odd shoes a lot of the time. But in the house, I don't wear them till the second I walk out the door.
I'm the same. You know, shoes in the porch, and I get in, they come off, they go on a little shoe rack, and when I leave the house, I take them off, put them back on.
No, see, I kind of like.
If I walked around my landing with my shoes, I'd get murdered.
Yeah, no, I couldn't go. I very, very rarely go up the stairs in them. Because I've got hard floors.
You're saying you do sometimes?
Oh yeah, I do sometimes.
Oh, tell him Philip for that.
Yeah, let her know. Yeah. Let her know. Call the police.
Kerrie, we should probably talk about you a little bit.
Oh goodness!
Rather than just, I mean, I definitely could do random crap for 2 hours, but that's, you know.
Well, we've already dropped a few hot takes. We've called it metaverse shit, so let's carry on.
I do, and there was a couple of those I wanted to come back to, but I think we will at some point if it pops back into our heads. But for now, yourself. give us a little bit of background, childhood. Where have you come from? Where did you grow up? What's the whole kind of like story?
Oh, see, this is really interesting because if you ask anyone, they'll always say, you're not from Northampton. But actually, I was born, raised in Northampton, always lived around Kingsthorpe, always.
We love Northampton.
Yeah. My whole life. I think the only time I ever left Northampton was literally to go to uni for 4 years, and I came back. And I think it's been always one of those places that I think is like home. Do you know what I mean? Like wherever you go, you'll always end up coming back here. And I think my first ever time that I really got into like music as well as a kid, like being around it, is I remember I used to spend a lot of time at my granddad's house when I was a kid, and he used to drive me to and from school and stuff. And I remember hearing like the radio, and I think it was around the time that Red Hot Chili Peppers brought out Scar Tissue.
Okay.
Amazing.
And my first ever memory of like being into music or being into anything like that was that song, because I remember hearing it on the radio. I think it was Northampton 96 that actually played it at the time.
Mental.
And I think that is the defining moment in my whole childhood for like starting to like music, which is really mad to say.
That's amazing that you've got that memory in your head though. Like, that's really cool. I don't think like as specific as that. I remember like I'm the same as that. Like all of my music taste, I think, comes from being in the car with my dad from a very young age. Because wherever we'd go, he'd put the music, and it would be stuff that I like. And especially like I always cite like Linkin Park. He loved Linkin Park. That Hybrid Theory album. I was like 6 years old, and he'd just play it constantly. And I'm like, I feel like that gives you a base of like that's good music, and you just take that forward a little bit. But like, that general, you're taking a lot from you. You always take it from your parents, grandparents, and that sort of stuff, don't you? Because it's like, as soon as you're around it at that age, it's just going to stick with you forever. The
weirdest thing, though, is that none of my family are actually musical. Like, I would not say they're musical bards. I wouldn't say, like, I think my mum's tastes are quite mainstream. Yeah. She has the same playlist of, like, 30 songs that she plays every single day. And I could probably tell you the order of those songs. And my dad's the same. Like, he is not musical at all. Like, I don't even know where my interest in it came from, but I can only put it down to, like, that is the first thing that I remember. Being in the car, listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers' Scar Tissue, which is mad because it's like you think back like as a kid and the first memories that you might have, and the second one that I have is literally watching a torchlight fall on my head when I was a kid. So I've got a scar on my forehead, like a really small, like inch-long scar. What? And when I was a kid, I was quite a clumsy kid. You know, being one of them children, if there was something to be tripped over, I would trip over it. If there was something to break, I would break it. And I remember when I was in my granddad's house, in the loft, he was just like tinkering around doing whatever. Yeah. And he had this inspection lamp in the loft that was plugged in to the hallway. No. And I remember shouting up to him and saying, "Oh, Grandad, when are you coming down on board or whatever?" Yeah. And I yanked this inspection lamp thinking it was like bring him down. No. Yeah. And I just, next thing you know, watched this like massive torch falling on my head. And that is the second memory I have. Don't remember a single thing after that.
Oh, that knocked every single brain cell out of your head.
This is an amazing how we're having a conversation right now. I have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a great podcast, that's it. All memory loss from that point onwards. Yeah. No idea.
It stops there.
There's nothing else for you there, boys.
I was going to say it's well funny. It's not really funny, is it? It's quite bad.
Traumatic, actually.
But it's mad. Those are the only two memories I literally have as
from
a kid.
From like early childhood. Yeah.
I don't think I have many. When you really think about being a kid, they're like popping shed every now and again, but like...
I've got a few.
Go on.
I threw my brother off a bed in a fight and split his head open, so ended up having to go to hospital.
Yeah, that's quite
quality.
You threw him off a bed?
Yeah.
Good. WWE style.
Just we were fighting, I like threw him off a bed and he ended up like splitting his head open on like the corner of the chimney breast.
If you haven't dropped a sibling like a tombstone pile driver like The Undertaker back in the day, that's it. You've not lived.
You've not lived. What else have I got weird childhood memories? I don't know, like I remember the first time I put a cigarette in my mouth.
Good.
Do you?
Yeah. No, I was young. I was really young, like 6 or 7, and I found my dad's cigarettes in his van while he was playing cricket. Because I used to knock about at the cricket club all the time.
When you were 6. So like, knocking about. I'd be going to the boys. Yeah. Couple of Stellas. He was alright.
No, so like my old man used to take me up, and my dad would look after me, and I'd just knock about the dressing rooms while he was playing, and we'd go play ball round, whatever. Anyway, but I remember getting a cigarette out and putting it in my mouth. Which is weird. I don't know why I remember that. I was young and I was just playing around sort of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously because I've seen my dad do it and whatever, but like...
I remember my mum actually caught me smoking in the house when I was a teenager.
Really?
Yeah, so when I was a teenager, I think I probably fell into like a crowd of kids that like would always be out drinking and smoking in the local park. Normally in Bradlaugh Fields, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I got in, I'd had a few drinks, like I was definitely like 14 at the time, and obviously probably drunk off like one bottle of White Ace or something. And I remember I got home and I sparked up a Marlboro Light out the window, thinking that my mum wasn't going to be able to smell it.
Yeah.
And got halfway through the fag, and my mum was like, she came upstairs and she was like, what's that smell? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, has someone been smoking in this house? I was like, no. Like, clearly stinking of it.
Who would do such about
everything? And she was like, right, okay then. And then she just left like the room, and I was like, yeah, I got away with that. Definitely did not get away with that.
She knows.
Yeah, she knew. She knew. And I never lived that down for the rest. Like even now, years later, she's always like, do you remember that time I caught you smoking out the window? I wasn't.
That's brilliant. I don't think I've ever been caught smoking. I think there just was a point where it was just kind of known that I smoke. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't smoke all the time. I like a smoke every now and then. But like when we have a drink, if I'm out, I'll smoke. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. And I can remember there was a point, and it was only really recently, where it's the first time that I went out. It was at our gig, when we did our gig in Northampton. And I was pissed, and we'd finished up. Everything was done. Everyone was packed up and gone. There was like a handful of us left that were just going out into town. And I remember getting out and like just got a cigarette out of pocket, lit up. My dad comes walking around the corner. I'm still smoking it, chatting to him. And then that was the first time where I was like, right, actually, there was a moment, even though I was shit-faced, I was like, this is odd. I've always been sneaky about it. I've always been like, I've always gone up the garden, like out the back if I'm pissed, and I'll go out the back and have a cigarette, or like I'll go like out of the way so no one will ever catch me or whatever. Whereas now, I feel like it's like, I do every now.
To make your own decisions now.
I'm 23, I probably can. I'm really allowed to. I'm allowed to do what I want now. So
the thing is, if your parents think it's all right, then it's not as deviant as it was.
It's not fun, is it?
Exactly.
Like, they're not. I don't think they're happy about it. I wouldn't say they're like out buying me cigarettes, because my old man's been packed up nearly 10 years. So it's like. It's one of them ones where I still every now and then have a cigarette, and it's like, it's weird. But yeah, I've never been caught doing stuff like that.
No.
Have you ever been caught doing anything like that?
Never done anything like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So no.
Yeah.
Never smoked a cigarette in my life.
That's wild. I know.
You've never even like had a puff?
Never. No.
Wow.
No.
That's the craziest thing
Not
to
in
me.
my life. No, I've never had any interest in doing it, to be fair.
That's
and then just never have.
Because I feel like there's more things I've tried than not.
Yeah.
Like in general, like I've tried whatever you'd want to try, I've tried. Like at least once. So it's like, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm like, I don't like it all. I like some of it, I don't like others. So it's like, do you know what I mean?
It's one of them things that I think with most stuff, you kind of try it and then you're like, yeah, well, I did it and it weren't all that or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I've got that bone, I've got that curiosity bone in me. I feel like you're just pretty happy, like, not knowing. Like, it's just is what it is.
Yeah, freak. Don't really give it. Just, that's the thing, it's never been like a conscious decision. I've just never been asked. Do you know what I mean? It's never really.
So somebody offered you one now.
I've definitely tried to get you smoking at some point.
There was 3 years at uni that 90% of my life was just people trying to get me to do things. I think I've got that bit of bone in my body about it where I'm like, now that I've said I don't want to do it, if someone's trying to get me to do it, I'm definitely not fucking doing it. Like if I do this, it'll be on my own accord. I'm not doing it. Someone says, go on, do it. That is me, like, absolutely fucking not. Now that you've told me to do it, like out of principle, you're
just not going to do it.
Like regardless of anything else, I'm just like, no, thank you.
I can see us in a few years' time, big cigar job. I feel like I can see that happening. Big cigar, just sat here chilling. Done what we need to do.
Yeah, when I move into my whiskey phase, I think
that's cigar. They come with hand in hand, don't they?
Phase in life, but
I still haven't moved into the red wine phase. I'll be honest. Still haven't got there.
Big time.
I'm waiting for the day it comes, and that's it.
It does hit.
It's beautiful.
I feel like when I want to complain to a manager every time I go out for a restaurant meal or whatever, that's when I've hit my red wine phase.
Yeah. I think there's a line. I feel like I love my red wine, but I can't. You drink it all the time. I don't drink it all the time. I'll drink it like with a meal or like whatever if we're out and about. And so part life. That's the worst one.
Yeah, that's all we drank apart.
We drank so much red wine. Pre-part life, we had 2 bottles each.
Yeah. Do you know what? Right. You know when you go to a festival or you're at uni or whatever, and you're like, right, fuck it, I'm gonna have one drink of choice. You know, yeah. In my second year of uni, we got this real thing for like Lambrini. So we used to remember that Lambrini was £1.50 at Tesco's. Yeah. And if you had a club card, it was £1. See, we're back to the club card. And we used to, in our flat, all 10 of us just literally buy Lambrini, like 4 bottles of Lambrini for a night out or whatever. And it wouldn't do anything, would it? Let's be realistic.
No. It was like squash, but I used to get the stronger one because there was one that was like 7.5 to like 10% that period.
Chuck the extra
so I'd get the strong, chuck the extra quid in it, and it tastes like fucking ass. But it was awful. So I used to get my cherries and berry squash, splash it in the top,
that is
shake it around. £2.50 for like the big chunky bottles as well. The only ones you can get in corner shops, and it's got like the price around the tag at the top.
My Lambrini was like White Lightning cider.
Oh,
like a 3 litre bottle of that stuff. It was like 6%. And it was like £2 or something. It was ridiculous. And it was.
That is stupid.
It was. I don't even want to know what was in it. But we'd get through like first year, we'd just slap through like one of them 3 litres of cider. We'd go out and I'd be like,
so much cider.
I don't think I was drunk. I think it was just like whatever chemicals. You just go a little bit west. But that was good to be fair.
What did you study at university then?
So I did print journalism, right? So I I didn't go to uni straight away. Yeah. So I failed all of my college A levels and that. So I actually did media studies, didn't turn up to the exam, so obviously failed that straight away. And I just failed college, so I went and got a job, worked in admin in transport for like 5 years, and then was sat there one day and I was just like listening to the radio. It was actually Radio 1 that I was listening to. Grimmy was on his like new breakfast show. He just got it. And I remember being sat there and thinking like, oh, these lot are having so much fun. Like I would love to do a job that I just love, because I turn up to work every day and be like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. And I just thought, I've got to do something. I can't stay here, otherwise I'll be here forever. And and then I think I just decided that day, I was like, I'm going to go to uni, but I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And I remember at the time I was watching Sex and the City loads, right? And Carrie Bradshaw with her little typewriter and her MacBook, like looking out the window, talking about men, her love life, her sex life. And I was like, I'm going to be a sex writer. No, I actually did say that.
50 Shades of Northampton.
Yes. Pattern that immediately.
Obviously.
Got all of that. Christ, there'd be some stories if you did that. Jeez.
So at the time I was like, no, I'm going to be a writer of some sort. And I remember just for a year I went to college and was working a 9 to 5, and then finally got into uni to do print journalism. And I remember thinking, yep, I'm going to work for Cosmopolitan. That's what's going to happen.
That's how it's going to go.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit at my cushy little desk all day, getting sent free stuff, writing about it. It'd be easy. Turned up. It wasn't easy, it turns out. They send you out into the street to go and speak to old people and, people who don't want to talk to you on a rainy day. And it was a real reality check that, actually being a journalist was quite hard.
Yeah.
So I was doing it for like a year and I was all right at feature writing and stuff like that. But news stories, I was like, I can write, about court cases and stuff.
Yeah.
You get to go to court and see all the juicy stuff on that sort of course. Yeah. So all the murder trials and stuff, you'd be able to go along and just
busy round here, wouldn't you?
You'd go and spectate. And I just remember like being like, oh, well, I like it, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. And then my mate Amber had a radio show. She was doing broadcast journalism, and sometimes the courses came together, other times they didn't. And she had a radio show on Fly FM at the time, which is the student radio station at Nottingham Trent. And night before, we went out for a pizza, and I was like, all right, well, she was like, oh, my radio show, by the way, I've got one tomorrow. Do you want to come on and talk about going out for a pizza? Because basically this disgusting girl decided to put a fried egg on the top of her pizza, like as a normal topping. Don't look at me like that. No.
I'm standing out of this.
So, I advocate egg on pizza.
No.
Sorry, I do.
It's like nice. The pineapple argument. It doesn't work.
Pineapple's wrong.
No, pineapple works. A
little Florentina, often called, with an egg, olives.
That's what she had. That's
fish,
what she had.
Maybe. Absolutely beautiful.
I just couldn't get on board with it.
Oh, yes.
And anyway, so we had this heated argument. She was like, do you want to come on the radio and talk about this heated argument? So next day, I come in, locked and loaded, like, right, that's it. I've never been on the radio before. Went into the studio, sat down in front of the mic, and like within 10 seconds, I was like, I feel weird. Like, I feel like something just, and as cliche as it sounds, something just clicked when I sat in front of the mic, and I was like, I really like this. I've got a weird feeling about it, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Yeah. So we had this chat back and forth, and I went away thinking I would love to be on the radio. Like, I would love to do it, but I don't really know if that's an option. Like, am I just going to turn up and prat about with my mates every week? Yeah. So I begged the programming person at Fly to give me a radio show. Yeah. I was so annoying. I was constantly messaging her like, can I have a slot? Can I have a slot? Can I just do an hour?
Yeah,
can I
just play some tunes?
Yeah. And I just remember her being like, fine, like giving in after weeks of me harassing them. And they gave me an hour on a Saturday, and I just turned up, and I couldn't even like backhand a song. I couldn't even announce what was playing because I was like so nervous about doing it. But instantly I was like, right, I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do it for a job, but I want to do this. Yeah. And from then on, everything was just radio.
That's quality. I have a very, very, very similar story.
Really?
Yeah, like almost like apart from the pizza debacle, it was like literally the same. My mate had a show, and we were filling in a spot, and his co-host couldn't get in, and he was like, do you want to do it with me? And I was like, yeah, sound. We called it the one-off show. That then led to being a regular show that we did the next semester. We did like it for like 6 months, and then that's the reason we have the mics and the podcast stuff, because we actually started a podcast from that. So then it went from being the radio and podcast stuff like that, and that's how I knew like doing entertainment. And like I studied philosophy. I did nothing to do with any form of journalism or like real like specifically, but like I had the same experience of being like, shit, in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, talking to people that I don't know, like he sneezed on.
Sorry, I thought it was nice to get your
yeah, like you kind of realise you have these moments where it clicks, and I was like, I love the idea of, and then like it kind of unlocked something in my brain that I've always had, but it stopped me. Like I've always had this thing where I was like able to think of the ideas to do shit. Yeah. But I never did it. Yeah. Whereas now, when I did that radio show, I was like, oh shit, this stuff is just as easy as it sounds in my head. Like in my head, I made everything sound like it was easy to like do clothing. It was easy to do this, it's easy to do that. It is. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was like and I think that was one of the things, radio, that very, very similar experience of being like, do you want to come on and have a go? And I was like, yeah, of course I fucking do. Like, I'll have a crack. And it just felt so natural into it. Did you find that then you're leading from coming out of university and going almost like professional with it was something that was was it an easy progress for you?
The thing for me was that it was a total fluke that I even thought that I could do it for real, because what happened was, so I'd been doing radio for about 5 months, because I started it at the end of my first year of uni. Like I went almost a full uni year without doing anything, like not being involved in student radio in any way. And then I went to this conference called the Student Radio Conference, and basically every year it's hosted at a different uni, and they have this competition like the X Factor called Demo Factor, where you submit a radio demo and it's listened to by these 5 experts who are on the panel. Okay. And I entered the competition, just thought, well, I'm dicking about on the radio, I've been on for 5 months, like all that's going to happen is that I'm just going to get a bit of feedback. Like, I'm not going to get picked out. My name will never come out. So I entered this demo that was just the weirdest shit I've ever heard. Like, I listen back now and I cringe so hard.
Yeah.
And basically there was these three options you could get. So you could get a red buzzer where a judge hates you, or thinks, no, this is rubbish. And then they have a gold buzzer where, like, if they think they're like you're really good, they'll hit the buzzer. And if they don't hit any buzzers, your demo will play for 1 minute and then it will just stop. And of course, there I was thinking, it'll never happen. I'll never get picked. It's fine. I'll just get the feedback at the end from one of the judges. Fourth name that comes out is mine in front of a room of people pre-coronavirus. Like, it's jam-packed with people from the industry, and it's packed with students as well. My demo starts playing. Like, I'm at the front. Everybody's got their eyes on me and the judges. And I got a few red buzzers within the first 20 seconds, I won't lie.
Yeah.
4 judges actually hated my content, thought I was the most annoying thing ever. So turned me off. But one judge didn't. And that judge who gave me a gold buzzer that night was Aled Hayden-Jones, who is the head of Radio 1.
Useful. Really useful, actually.
My God.
Yeah, and that was the most unexpected thing to ever happen, because I was like, what? I've been doing radio for 5 months. Like, I just prat about every week. So what the hell is happening? The head of Radio 1 is now liking what he hears from me. And it was that moment where I was just like, shit, what do I do?
This is kind of real shit.
Yeah. And the competition went, and I came as like one of the runners up in the competition, and nothing really happened after that. Like, I didn't get anything as a result of it.
It just was
but it was a turning point.
It's a feeling of validation, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was a real turning point, and I was like, maybe I could do this for a job. Like, maybe, just maybe, probably not, but maybe I could do this. And I kind of started to take it a little bit more seriously, started turning up, started planning things more, started thinking things through, and then that was it. And then I went out into the world, like, got a newsreader job at Kettering in Connect FM, and I was doing the news at the weekends, and I was just doing 1 day a week, so I was just turning up on a Saturday morning in my pyjamas, reading the news, and then going home. And I thought, I'm actually doing the job. I'm reading the news, which is obviously not presenting, but I'm reading the news, and I like being behind the mic. And I just remember that time where I was doing it. I was like, I can't believe I've actually managed to do it, to be paid to do radio. Because as you boys know, like, radio is a hard industry to ever get any money from. Some people can do it for years and never earn a penny from it. Like, you know, people are in community radio who are really talented, and to actually leave uni and then to get something straight away, even if it was the news at the time, it was my first ever job. It was like, I was like, am I really here? Like, is this
so
really happening?
Isn't it? Yeah, because I've been trying recently. Like, I went back to uni and come back out, and like, it all fell through and whatever. But I've been trying now to get work in radio or work in TV, or, to be honest, anything where I'm creating something, not bothered. Social media, digital marketing, all of that stuff. And I don't hear a sniff. I don't know. I've not had a sniff of it.
Oh, not even a whiff.
Not even a whiff. I've had a couple of interviews that are like interesting, but they've like, it's kind of gone other ways and they've been around the world, sort of thing. They've been really cool, but it's like they're not necessarily kind of gone my way or whatever. They've not heard back and stuff like that. So it's like, it's so sick that you kind of came out, found that newsreader role, and it's kind of like you fell into it, almost like you fell into the role by luck, but into the like role in the sense of like coming into uni and finding yourself on the radio. You come out of university and then it's gone straight into some form of paid work, and it's
any foot in the door though, isn't it? It's just like
so good.
It was
so good.
Like.
It was, but then to be fair, it did come crashing down a little while after, because the station ended up closing about 11 months after I'd done the job. So I was doing breakfast news, and then I was doing like afternoon news. So I was working like 3 days a week while I was in uni doing my masters. So I did a masters afterwards in documentary journalism.
Oh wow!
And always wanted to be like a Louis Theroux kind of character. And then I just got a note through one day saying that the station was closing.
I
was like, oh my God, I don't have another job to go to. Like, I looked around the area, because obviously living here in Northampton, there isn't a lot of radio.
Between, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a difficult area to live in, like in terms of finding a radio job if you're outside of London or Manchester, because that's where all the big stations currently are. And obviously, like with the BBC, they're moving some stuff to Birmingham, but it wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, shit, what do I do now? Couldn't for the life of me find another job, and spent 18 months not even sat in front of a mic after that. I had to get a job in marketing to like be able to afford, to live and stuff, and worked at a students' union. But I was always drawn back to the whole radio stuff. Like I made the students' union create a podcast so that I could still be doing radio in some capacity. But I just didn't get behind a mic professionally after that. And I was like, it's done. My time in radio is finished now. And I just never thought I was going back, and I prepared for that, and I actually got a tattoo of a little record button. So on my left arm I've got a record button, and it's got like the REC and the red circle, and I got that tattoo because I was like, that's the end. I'm not going back to radio, but I'm really grateful that I had some time getting paid doing like something that I love doing. And the really mad thing is, then I got Radio 1. So a few weeks after getting that tattoo, I literally got the Radio 1 Christmas presenters.
Absolutely fucking ridiculous.
I know.
Talk us through that. That's wild, isn't it? Like, I tell you what, before we talk into that, do you want another beer?
Yeah, all right. I'll have a non-alcoholic one. Yeah.
Right, okay, Radio 1. Talk us through that, like the Christmas presenting stuff.
Okay, so at the time, I'd been out of radio for 18 months, right? Always loved new music, like from the MySpace days, had always been interested in finding new music. And at this time, I was very like, okay, well, my time in radio is done. So I still spent a lot of time listening to music on the side and finding new artists, like going down rabbit holes. But I just accepted that I worked in marketing and that was my job. Then the Radio 1 Christmas presenters search came up, and the year before was the first year that it had happened. And I saw a couple of people, like a couple of my mates, actually got Radio 1 Christmas presenters in the first year.
Sorry, for anyone who doesn't know what Radio 1 Christmas presenters is.
Yeah, so it's a search for presenters to take over the schedule. So at Christmas, all the presenters on Radio 1 get time off, and they're replaced by a load of presenters who enter a talent search, in effect, with their demo. And then, as a result, they choose like 33 who get a slot to present on Radio 1.
Yeah.
The actual Radio 1, which is mad when you think about it.
And it is a really, really like cool thing to do, I think. Like, that's such a clever way to do it, because it benefits them, because you're guaranteed that you've got 33 people sort of to look at and be like amazing, and then it's amazing for those 33 people to have the chance. So it's a cool thing.
It is, and thousands of people apply for it. So I think the first year 1,100 people applied, and only 33 or whatever it was got it. And then the second year 1,300 people applied for it, which was the year that I went in for it. Now, when I went in for it, I've got to be honest, I thought, not a fucking chance in hell am I going to get this. I haven't sat in front of a microphone for 18 months. My demo material is stuff that I did at student radio. I was just dicking about, basically. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to get this. So I put together a demo that I thought, this is the most authentically me. This is just me being a bit of a dickhead and me talking about stuff that I like, new flow, music.
So you saw in flow, and I like it.
So I was just being an idiot, basically. And I listen back to that demo now, and I think, what the fuck did you submit at the time? Like, awful. And I remember talking about Vampire Weekend or something for like a solid 30 seconds.
What band?
I think it was when This Life was released. I did like a real like passion link about it because I loved that song. That song is like, I think it defined one of my summers. I think it was like 2018 or 19. Yeah. It was a defining summer.
Such a good summer.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I did a link about that, and basically this demo put together, half me being an idiot, half me talking about music. And I thought, no chance. So I left it, didn't hear anything back for like 3-4 weeks after the competition closed, because I put my demo in 10 minutes before the deadline.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then this guy texted me on WhatsApp one day. I just 4 weeks later, not even thinking about it, because obviously, don't be silly, I haven't sat in front of a mic for 18 months. I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
This guy texted me called Jacob, and he went, "Hi, Kerrie, it's Jacob from Radio 1. Have you got a minute to chat?"
Nope.
And I was like,
you're like, what the fuck you don't?
I was like, is this a scam? Like, where have you got my details from? Like, is this actually a scam? Sat there thinking to myself, you know, when people tell you you've won £25 million.
Yeah. You're the 7th person to click on our website this morning. You've won an iPhone.
100 iPhone 11s.
And it was like, put your bank details in or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I was like, this is a scam. Like, this guy is not actually contacting me. So I messaged him back and was like, yeah, sure, I can meet now, like, or half an hour. I think I said half an hour because I wanted to pretend that I was actually busy when I wasn't. I was sat in bed, unwashed, greasy hair, 5 days since I last washed my hair, looking a state. So I was like, right, give me half an hour. So I ran into the shower, got ready, sat down for this Zoom meeting. And this guy popped up on screen and I'd like searched him up on Twitter, so I knew he was legit. Yeah. And he went, just to let you know, you're in the running to get a show on Radio 1. I was like, are you kidding?
Are you having me on? Fucking hell.
And he was like, it's not a guarantee, but you need to come to Birmingham to do a show pilot. So you basically need to come along and sort of prepare a couple of notes, but do a show exactly as you would in the Anthem style, which is like where they play a year and the best songs from that year.
Oh my God.
So it's really like high energy, really fast paced. Yeah. So then I had about 2 weeks where I just thought of nothing else between him speaking to me and saying, hello, you might have got this, and going to the pilots. And I remember turning up that day in Birmingham and being like, holy shit, I'm not getting this, but I'm going to have fun. Like, whatever happens,
enjoy it. Yeah.
I'm going to have fun. So I rock up in Birmingham, like, just nervous as hell, couldn't eat a thing before the pilot. Stood in this studio, and no lie, it had the Radio 1 branding. It literally had the lights that you see. You know, whenever you see a video of social media of like BBC Radio 1 on their account, it was a studio exactly like that, like proper lights, like the full business.
This is it.
The desk moves up and down, changes height.
That is desks that move up and down.
Yeah,
it will be the highlight of my life when I get one of them.
You should
dream.
They are. She made one that's going to come up behind. We'll have to get up an extra height. It's going to have to be like 6'3" desk.
It'll have to still be on blocks. So I'm going to have to put it on wooden blocks.
Yeah, that's sick. Though.
And so this desk, right? Obviously, I'm like moved up and down. Oh my god!
Playing with it.
Yeah, just messing around with it.
Breaks.
And he's like, right, okay. So you need to learn how to use this desk. So a few times, pressed a few wrong buttons, just messing about with it for like 10 minutes. Yeah. And then it just clicked. Like, I was like, right, that's it. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And he went, do you want to do a few practice runs first? I went, no, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing for the first time the Radio 1 Anthems imaging as I hit it and feeling sick. I thought I was going to throw up. I swear. Vom came up in my mouth. Like, that's how nervous I was.
Yeah, I bet.
And then my mic went up and bang, that was it. Just, I was there. I was gone. It was like I hadn't been away at all. And I stopped the link because we just did like patches of links, basically. Patches of talking, and then they put them together in a demo to like show what you like.
Yeah.
And then the bosses decide who gets it. And he said to me, if every link is like that, oh my God, you're going to be on Radio 1 at Christmas. So...
I mean, don't say that. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Give me 10 fucking minutes. Let me finish. Wait, please. Because now I'm going to fucking judge myself way too much. Please leave me alone.
And being told that, it made it 10 times worse.
Yeah, I bet. Agreed.
So then I went through, did all my links, and I thought, I'm never going to hear back from this again. I'm not a radio presenter at the moment. I'm not doing anything like that. This has been such a fun day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite believe it when he played the demo back to me because he stitched the 5 minutes together of everything I'd done. And I was like, is that me?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that was definitely you. And and then I just waited 3 more weeks. 3 weeks went by and I was like, have I got it? Have I not got it?
Such a long time as well.
Yeah.
When you wait
so that whole period has been nearly 6 weeks from entry closing time. That's such a long period.
So I sat there in agony, like, oh my God, I haven't got it. I haven't heard anything. They've just sacked me off because there were like quite a lot of people piloting for that. I think it was like a final 50 on the shortlist or something. And only 9 people from that 50 were going to go forward and get it. And then one Wednesday afternoon, I was in the most boring meeting you could ever imagine, talking about windows or something, because I worked for the Students' Union and they were having a renovation and we had a meeting.
I thought, so much a fucking nerd I am, I thought like windows on computers.
I worked for
Microsoft. We're chatting about the new window. Boring. Fuck them. Yeah.
I'm more thought like whether they were going to put it on the computers or not, like the update or something like that.
Oh my God.
I'm such a virgin. I'm such a virgin.
I don't think this is any better though, because I was literally talking about physical windows.
Yeah.
So I was bored shitless in this meeting and I was like, I can't stay in this job much longer. Like, I can't. And knowing I'd done that for Radio 1 3 weeks before was agony. My phone started ringing.
Oh, no.
And I picked it up because it was a mobile number I didn't recognise.
Yeah.
And I went, hello. And the person on the other end of the phone went, hello, Kerrie, it's Aled from Radio 1. I was like,
oh, I know who you are.
What do you want? What do you want? Yes or no, please? Give me the answer now.
My God.
And I remember, like, just leaving that meeting there and then, and I was like, yes, Aled, I'm not busy, no, let's talk, right?
Walks out like, fuck you! Fuck your windows! Fuck off! Get
him! I don't care.
I literally was like, sorry, internet's gone. Like, I was like, Aled, I'm not busy, no, let's chat. Like, anyway, so he says to me, like, you piloted 3 weeks ago, kept a bit of suspense going, and then he went, do you want to do some shows on Radio 1 at Christmas? I was like,
nah, Joe Allen.
Actually, no, I'm busy over Christmas, actually, I'm afraid. I've got some really important marketing to do for the union.
Sorry, I need to order a load of window stickers. Haven't got time, can't fit it in. And and then I remember I spoke to him on the phone. I don't remember anything past that conversation. Nothing. And I was sat there and I was shaking. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? My mum was downstairs and I went, Mum! And she was like, what? And I was like, Aled's just called me from Radio 1. She went,
oh my God.
And I went, I'm doing some shows at Christmas.
I'm on Radio fucking 1.
God. Yeah. And she was like jumping about. She had like tears in her eyes.
Oh my God,
and
that's
I
wild.
Was almost crying. I was like, oh my God, what has happened? I couldn't believe it. But Aled had obviously said you can only tell one person. So like you can only ever tell the person you live with. So I had to keep the secret then.
No, but they tell you that, do they?
Yeah, you're not allowed to tell anyone once you get it. So the whole thing is that you can't tell anyone that you're going to the pilots or that Radio 1 have contacted you. And then when you get it, you can't tell anyone until they do the press release.
Who the fuck did the fuck?
It's like...
It'd be so difficult though for us if we ended up going for something like that. I'd be sat in front of the microphone being like, I had to go to Birmingham for something really important. Can't talk much about it.
Well, this is the worst thing about it because you can't tell anyone. Like, you're ecstatic, but you just can't say anything. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, the press release will be out in 3 weeks. I was like,
another 3 weeks.
That's 3 months by this point.
Fucking hell.
And by this point, I was dying, right? I was literally bursting at the seams. I was like, I can't keep this secret. And for weeks, I had to basically pretend to all my mates that I was dead. So I literally just didn't reply to any messages.
Why did that mean that?
Didn't reply to any messages.
Didn't do anything for 3 weeks.
No, I didn't go out because I was like, if I get drunk, I'm going to tell somebody.
Yeah. How are you? And you're I'm on Radio 1 too.
Fucking amazing, actually. Yeah. Tell you why.
2 pints in. Yeah, Radio 1. And
half a coke in.
When I'd kept the secret for like a week, because I didn't even know what slot I was on. Like, at this point, I just knew I was on Radio 1.
Oh my God.
Got a text a week later and they were like, how about Radio 1 breakfast, 6 till 10 a.m.
Oh my fuck.
And I was like, that's Greg James's slot. That's like the biggest
when all
slot.
those people listen to Radio 1 in the morning when they're driving to work, like the fucking slot.
Oh my God,
that must be the... because that must I always think of it from like the manager's perspective. That period of time must be so easy to manage because no one's going to say, "Oh no, I don't fancy that slot."
No,
do you know what I mean? But that's wild.
That's amazing.
The morning slot.
Yeah, so 6 till 10 on 2 days. So I did the Monday and Tuesday. The Monday was bank holiday. The Tuesday was a normal day, so it was Greg's like usual slot. And I just remember being like, what the hell? I'm sat in for Greg James. Like, I haven't sat in front of a microphone for 18 months.
Oh my God, yeah.
Then the announcement came out and I tweeted about it and Greg James was like, good luck, I'll be listening from 8 a.m. I was like, like,
Jesus Christ.
Please don't.
Don't do that. And I just remember the whole time from when the announcement day came out and everybody found out that I was doing it, like, everything just went wild.
Yeah, I bet.
The phone went wild. The messages were coming through. Oh,
you're right.
You got a cold.
Are you okay?
Just a little sneeze. I'm absolutely fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
That's twice now.
Two sneezes is fine.
2 sneezes, okay. Yeah.
Carry on.
Lose boxing match.
Sorry.
Right?
Yeah. Good ref. No one's going to get that. Good.
That's gone right over our audience's head.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not, mate.
So where were we? Right, we were talking about
Greg James Twitter blown up, phone blown up.
Yeah, so on the announcement day, it just went mad.
Yeah, mental.
I remember people like messaging, people I hadn't spoken to for ages, like, oh my God, that's congratulations, you're on Radio 1. And I couldn't even believe it myself. Like at this point, I was still like, what the hell is happening? And then as the shows got nearer and nearer and nearer, obviously the country was in lockdown and went back into lockdown. And it was that famous 2020 Christmas where London went into tier 4. So at some points we were like, am I going to get coronavirus? Like not be able to do it?
Can you imagine?
Is the lockdown going to stop me going to the studios?
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, so I couldn't do anything leading up to Christmas. Like literally stayed at home for like 3 weeks in a bubble with my mum at the time, and just the two of us. Like we didn't go out or anything because I was like, I don't want to risk not doing this show.
Yeah.
And it was all fine. Went and did the shows, and
fucking
it's a surreal experience to even say that I ever did that, because
it's incredible. Like it's the pinnacle, and that's like it is literally it's the like Premier League of like that's what you'd want. It's like getting a random trial at like Man City and just being like, go do it. It's like the top level, isn't it?
Exactly. And you ask any radio presenter who's like aspiring to be in the industry and say like, where would you want to work if you could? And almost all of them would say Radio 1.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you always have an idea of like, oh, I'd love to just be on there once, even as a contributor, you know, even as a guest or somebody on the phone to Scott Mills. You're like, oh, but to actually turn up and be like, this is my show.
Slot.
It was the maddest thing, and I think it's one of them things that I always thought I'll have it on my bucket list as like the wildest dream that you could ever have would be to do the Radio 1 breakfast show, but to actually have done it.
That's crazy.
So early on as well, as you said, like you've not really done anything for 18 months. You're not remotely really into it, and it's like all of a sudden like you've gone from like nothing to Radio 1. It's like
you also went from being like student radio to newsreader to then nothing. Like it wasn't even you went into like a broadcast post where it was like an actual like presenter post. It was newsreader to then jump on to the Radio 1 stuff is a wild progression.
So I'm intrigued, like if you've got a 4-hour show, and again, like you've obviously done the radio stuff with Indie Rocks as well, but like I've never like planned anything like that. Like 4 hours in my head, like how do you even go about thinking, what are you going to say? What are you going to play? Like, do you have that full creative control over, like, here's what I'm going to do? Do they help? Do you, like, how does that whole process of planning that 4-hour show work?
So,
good question.
It depends where you are. Like, on Radio 1, you do have a producer. Yeah. So, you have a producer, an assistant producer who work with you on the show. And then what happens is, with these sort of shows, so with this format show, it's really different to the one I did this year with Future Artists and Jack Saunders' show, because with that one, you choose all the music yourself. Right. You know, you and the producer
I'd love that show,
choose what you play, and you have to come up with the ideas. But on that sort of show, you kind of can plan some silly stuff and stuff that you want to talk about. But ultimately, it relies on like listeners messaging in, because you know, engagement and people doing shout outs and stuff is like really nice, and it's a really good part of Radio 1. Getting a shout out on Radio 1 is still like a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
You always think, oh, I'd love a shout out, like whatever. And you could literally on there, the text screen was just going mad. Like every few seconds there'd be a new text, like new text, and you'd be able to scroll down and see all of the people texting in. And
fucking crazy.
I never think as radio as like, oh, there's 4 million people listening to this show. I always just think I'm speaking to one person, and that's all that's ever going to be interested in the show. Usually my mum. But
And you imagine that as well.
So I was just thinking, like, well, I'm just broadcasting to my mum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, I knew I wasn't, because
you
all
see all these texts coming in.
Yeah. Like fucking Joe Blogs from Norfolk is like
exactly. And this is the thing, and the 4 hours just flies because your adrenaline is going wild. You're walking into the 8th floor of New Broadcasting House, which is where Radio 1 is, and you see all the lights. You see, like, you're on the same floor as where people like Clara Amfo, where Annie Mac, where Greg James have all been. And you're just like bamboozled by it all. It just goes in the blink of an eye like that.
It must be wild. That's what a sick opportunity.
Yeah, it's
I'm just
so
like, even the thought of it's like frying my head, like the over stimulating of that situation. Just my head goes. Like,
did you have, because you said about how nervous you were for the demo? Were you at that level of nervousness for the real show? Or were you a bit more like, this is me now? Like, you a bit more like settled into it?
I didn't sleep the night before the show because I was so scared I was going to oversleep for the breakfast show that I got this hotel, and I remember listening to the rock show the night before that Nels did. So Nels Hilton did the rock show.
Yeah.
And I remember staying up and thinking, I need to be in bed right now. This finishes at 11.
Yeah.
I need to be up at 3:30 to go and get ready for this show. Oh, it was painful. So I barely slept. I remember getting like an hour or 2 hours, and I kept waking up seeing the time on my phone because I was so scared I was going to oversleep and miss the opportunity. Woke up in the morning, went to Radio 1 in a taxi, got there, and I remember buying a slice of toast from the canteen. And I did not touch that slice of toast because I was so nervous before it happened. Just couldn't do it, couldn't stomach it. I don't know about you boys, but whenever I've got something that's happening or I'm like really nervous, I just like go into like almost a close down.
100%.
I can't eat, can't sleep.
Yeah.
No, I'm
so nervous.
Like, to be fair, even at normal times, like, especially breakfast, like, don't really eat it at all. And I'm like, as soon as there's anything going on, it's just like, no, don't.
Just shag it off, wait
a coffee,
after.
I feel like espressos. I'd have like 6 espressos.
Yeah, I'd have a few coffees because I wouldn't have, it's the sleep thing for me. I wouldn't have slept. I would have made sure I ate, like, I would have gone for like a banana or like some fruit. Yeah. But like, I couldn't.
I don't know, I mean,
in the Radio 1 building, like, the extremity of that would be something for me. If I sat there and I'm eating toast and like Radio 1 people are cutting about me, I'd struggle to stomach that for sure. That's tough.
It obviously went very well. You enjoyed it?
It did. You know, I had the 2 days and I don't really remember too much about doing it. I just remember that I loved being there, and the whole experience was like, it was so surreal because when you look back and think, oh, I've been on Radio 1. Like, it's hard to process in your mind that you've actually done it.
Yeah.
Like, it's always one of those wild dreams, just like, you know, being on Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway. Like, I don't think Ant and Dec would ever think that they were going to host a prime time.
I thought you were going wild dream, and that was like one of your other wild dreams.
That's a hard one to crack because it does rely really on being Ant or Dec.
Oh, wouldn't the Ants?
You know.
No, so it is, isn't it? Because I don't think Ant and Dec ever thought they're going to be the biggest TV presenters alive, or they never probably thought, oh, we're going to present I'm a Celeb and it's going to be successful. And Radio 1 was like up there with me as well because I've never really been interested in like the fame of having my face out there on telly and stuff like that. I just love radio. I don't know why. I've always loved it. I just love talking into a mic. I love like supporting new artists. I love shouting people out. I love talking to people and having interview situations and stuff. And I don't know why, but it was always one of those things that I thought was so out of reach.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, I mean, it is in a sense. Like, it is one of those things where like you've had the opportunity and made the most of it. That's incredible. But there'll be thousands and thousands of people who get into radio that never get near an opportunity to be on Radio 1. Like, it is one of the things that is out of reach for 99% of people that go into doing it. So like, it is that. Like, you can't even imagine it being that thing that you actually get there, and it's like, it's just insane. It's
so mad. And then, you know, after it all happens and you go back to your day job, because I remember back then, 12 months ago, I was still working in the
There's no windows, everyone's freezing to death. They're sat there shivering.
The student union's been robbed every night that week because there's
January,
no
where's the double glazing? Kerrie fucking hell. Yeah.
She fucked it off.
I sacked it. So I went back to work on January the 6th after doing Radio 1 at Christmas to my job at the Students' Union. And I remember being sat there, because I was working from home at the time, being sat there on the morning, and I don't think I've ever felt such a big crash.
Yeah,
from
bet.
being on that to then having to go back to my day job, my 9 to 5. I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do now? Because I didn't have any radio at the time. I wasn't even doing community radio. I wasn't doing any form of radio whatsoever. So I remember just thinking, shit, what do I do now? Like, I've been on Radio 1 and I don't have anything in the pipeline. Like, how am I ever going to get back there? How am I ever going to be on air again? I just couldn't see it. And I just remember like feeling like, that's it. I did it for 2 days. It was great. and that's that. That'll be it.
It's that like gold medal syndrome, isn't it? Of like, it's a big thing of like people, if you work like people work their entire lives to get like a gold medal, and then you get it, and it's amazing for a day, and the next day you're like, what the fuck did I do now?
Yeah, what's next?
I've done that. Like, you focus everything, and then it's like, I've done that, and then it's like, shit, what is like the next step? It's
I would love to win a gold medal, to be fair. That would be...
Well, that's it. That's the next one, then.
Yeah, exactly. The next one is gold medal. Something. Anything can happen. I don't know what I'd win a gold medal.
What would you do? What would you do your sport?
My sport? I was always quite good at the discus at school.
Oh, amazing.
I was always a decent discus thrower.
Niche.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
That's a small field.
I can get behind. You have to like hold it. You hold it weird, don't you?
Yeah, you have to like hold
it over the top.
It's like a Greek style technique, isn't it? And then you release it like after swinging round.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, it's that's a niche thing. I wouldn't be very good at javelin though. I remember knocking myself out of school and having to be sent home once because I smacked myself in the back of the head with a javelin.
How do you even do that?
I released it, like chucked it up in the air, and the back of the javelin, the tail end smacked me in the head, and I just hit the deck and I was gone.
I'm just picturing being in that class and you do that and just being like, what the fuck has Kerrie just done?
Oh my god. I really wanted to take it back. I really wanted to take it back to doing the show this year, but I couldn't. I just
hold on.
That, and I was like, wait, come on, story time. What the fuck? That's outrageous.
Don't give her a shot, but whatever you do, fucking kill yourself. Jesus Christ! I can't get in the radius of you.
It's so bad. Honestly, God. The only sport that I've ever been good at is football. Honestly,
that's
the only sport that I'm good at.
Maybe you will do the Premier League as well then.
Maybe anything is possible. Done 100%. Radio 1 now. WSL next.
Why not? You want to put it back to the radio, do you?
Yeah, I want to put it back to this year.
Right, fair enough.
I want to put it back to this year because obviously you're saying you've always kind of been interested in finding new artists.
Yeah.
This year specifically must have been really important for you, like getting the job in Northampton on the introducing stuff, but also then going and covering Jack Saunders' show. Talk us through the introducing post at Northampton.
I remember thinking, I'm a fraud. Like, I remember
imposter syndrome sets in, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? Like, whenever you get an opportunity like that, sometimes you just think, shit, I'm not cut out for this job.
I'm bullshitting my way here, and now I'm here, and I don't want to be here. Like, it's And I
remember for weeks on end, I could barely sleep when I knew I got the introducing job. It should have been the happiest time.
Yeah.
But I just thought, oh my God, what if I balls up this music scene? What if nobody listens to what I say about the scene? Like, I knew the music inside out. Like, and I could talk about why I like certain songs so well, but I was just like, it's different, isn't it? Because Lau had been in that job for 10 years. He was a legend in the local scene. Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
And I was coming into it and I was just sat there thinking, nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to take me seriously. Like, obviously being Punjabi as well, I don't know anyone in radio who is doing mainstream music who is the same heritage as me. Like, being Punjabi, like, from a family where my dad is like really, really religious and he's a Sikh basically. And, so music and these sort of jobs were never really jobs that we were allowed to do. Like, so to do the job, I was like, nobody's going to respect me. Nobody's going to care what I say about music. Nobody's going to like think I know what I'm talking about. And then the announcement came out and I remember thinking to myself, no, I'm still a fraud, still a fraud, still a fraud. And then I had to do the first show, which was the Live Lounge competition, which was finding new talent from across the country. So like 15,000 people entered the competition.
That's so big.
Yeah, so many people.
They picked one to perform in the Live Lounge for Clara Amfo and Gemma Bradley at Radio 1.
Oh, who was that?
Bonnie Kemplay was the winner.
I
she was Scottish.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, and she that was my first ever live show. So my show was literally on a Friday night, a Live Lounge introducing special. And I remember the show going live at the time and me thinking, people are going to think I'm so shit. Like, and I knew how many people had applied for that job. Yeah. And I knew, like, if the show wasn't good...
Yeah. 200 people listening would be like, I could have done that.
I'll be honest. I didn't listen to the first show. I'll be very truthful.
It was, though. It was a case of, like, in my mind, I was thinking people aren't going to think I'm very good. Like, that's going to be it. And then I did the show. And then I did another show and another show, and it just started to come together.
Your job,
you get into the swing of it, then
yeah. And
amazing.
I think the one thing that I'm really proud of about the Northampton music scene is that we already knew it was diverse. We already knew that every genre has little pockets of people who are doing fantastically. But over the last 10 months, it's just, I've seen so many more new uploaders and so many more new faces to the scene. And, people are getting opportunities who maybe hadn't been on the scene 12 months before. And it's just really great to see how it's growing. And now we're at the point, you know, where the pandemic really hit and people couldn't have those opportunities of performing live in places. And now we've got so many artists like ready to just blow up and like keep growing and growing and growing. And it's just so great to see how it's gone over the last 10 months that I've been on the show, and how we've kind of grown out of that pandemic stage, and now we're starting to move into the next phase, which is, you know, seeing people live, seeing people thrive and get their national plays as well. Like it's so special. I think that's probably one of my favourite things about the job, seeing people send in their first song to us and seeing them at the very start, and then seeing them grow and grow and grow and keep lifting. And it's just the best experience ever. And I think that's the most rewarding part of the job. Like,
I can imagine.
I think a lot of the time, like being in radio, people think, oh, you do it because you like talking. But actually, my voice just carries the Saturday night show at the end of the day. Like, there could be, you know, any voice on there, but it's about the artist. That's the most special thing to me. That's what I love so much about the show. And people message in and people will say, oh, I discovered this artist through your show. Or like an artist will say, I'm collabing with another artist now who I heard on your show for the first time. And that for me is like the peak of the job, you know, the best part of the whole thing.
Do you feel like a certain sense of like responsibility a little bit now? Because like, obviously for a lot of local art, like if you were starting up locally, the goal would be to get on your show. Like there are people out there that when you play them, that's their moment. That's their like, oh, let's get around and have a drink. This is amazing. We're on BBC Introducing Northampton. Like, you can kind of create those moments. So do you kind of think of it as a bit of a responsibility, or is it just like you just do what you do and that's like...
It's hard to say because I love giving those first plays to people. Like, there's nothing more special than discovering someone who's just a gem and you're like, where the fuck have you been hiding? Like, where have you been? And, you know, giving them the first plays. And I know how important it is, though, because, you know, you have a goal. Like, say your goal is to get played on local radio and you achieve it. Then the next goal might be to get played on national radio. But sometimes it's about managing that and getting yourself in a consistent place where you're releasing good song after good song after good song to build up so that you can be played on national radio. And because, you know, getting played on national radio, it's a whole new gravy, isn't it? Like,
it's
getting played on Radio 1, it's
everything.
6.
It's everything.
It's what artists dream about, you know, to be able to have their music heard by loads of people. So it's about taking that momentum and using it in the right way. And I think, like, you know, sometimes you might get one play and then somebody might aim to get played on national radio next, but it's about growth, isn't it? The whole way through.
Conquer this bit before you move on a little bit. I get that.
There is that level of responsibility with the job in that you don't want to push somebody too fast and then them not do well because you've pushed them too hard too fast. So it is about that sometimes, managing expectations and saying, right, build up a good catalogue, show you can do a 25-minute set at a festival, you know, show you can deliver and perform your set well and your tracks well and you know them inside out. And the last 2 years have just been different, haven't they? Like, people haven't had that time to learn. So, yeah, it is a bit of responsibility, but at the same time, it's like... It's a nice feeling as well to know that you can discover somebody and then they can just keep going and growing. It's sick.
It's the best thing about what we do is finding people at such a small part, whether it's local or not. Like, luckily we're specific to one like genre, but we do end up countrywide. Like, it's almost like national in a sense, but obviously because of where we are really in touch with the scene. So it's like, it's one of the ones you grab someone that's new and it's their first song they've ever released and you found it and you're like, fucking amazing. And then they get to become something so much bigger from that first couple of tracks that they released. And you're just like, yeah, man, like, I'm glad we supported them from early doors. Do you know what I mean? It's such a good feeling that you're like, right, this was one of our picks last year, or this was like someone that I really wanted to make sure that we saw out there. And I think that is just doing stuff like what we both do is like, it's that sort of thing is just so rewarding, isn't it? It
is. And you look at like the wet leg effect of 2021. Nobody had heard of wet leg 12 months ago, but they uploaded a track to Introducing in Solent because they're from the Isle of Wight, and 6 months later, they're possibly like one of the biggest bands around at the moment. Like, my mum likes Wet Leg and I like Wet Leg, and I think this is the first time where a band has come along and they've grown rapidly, but your parents could like it as much as you do.
Yeah.
And that's what's so special about it. But they came through introducing Insolent, and now they're huge. You know, they came running up
singing about songs about chaise longues and wet dreams.
Yeah.
And you're like,
it's amazing.
They shouldn't
love
work,
it,
but it's fucking perfect. I love them.
It's the Mean Girls references as well.
Yeah, it's so good.
They're just like, they are absolutely smashing it. But that must be exciting for you because, like, I think we're both intrigued on like the process. Like, obviously, you get like actual applications through to people introducing.
Yeah.
So do you sit and listen to everything that comes in?
Yeah.
Or is it like a little bit more filtered, or you hear everything that gets uploaded to BBC Radio Northampton, you will hear at some point?
Yeah, so we listen to everything that comes through on the uploader, like absolutely everything, regardless of what it is, we'll listen to it. And because Connor works on the show with me, he's a second pair of ears. So like everything will go through two sets of ears. So like if I think something's really good, I'll say to Connor, I think this is good. What do you think? Or if he thinks something's really good, he's like, oh, this is really good. And, you know, we might find a track every so often that we're like, have we both slept on this? Like, and it's always nice because we've always got that set of ears, and he's got different tastes to me. Like he's a drum and bass DJ, and he's been doing that since he was like 12, 13. He's been playing in clubs since he was that young. And his dad used to have to take him along to clubs and all of that stuff. And so he's really into that, and it's great because drum and bass is coming back now into the mainstream.
Massively.
Like so focused. Like you see people like Nia Archives and people like that coming in now, Piri and Tommy, and they've all got those drum and bass undertones, and he's obviously like drum and bass through and through. And then I have more of a background in indie music, alt music. That was what I started in. But then I moved into stuff like grime. I moved into stuff like pop. And now I just love like DIY pop as well. That's a big thing. I'm like,
pop.
yes. And it's nice because we have different tastes, but I can always appreciate why somebody will like something. So if it's not like to my personal taste, I always know somebody else is going to appreciate this, or somebody's going to like this. So I can see why and how it's good. Like I always look for the potential in a track. You know, when I just trust my ears and think I can hear an element of this that is brilliant.
Because I think that's the really difficult quality. Because I think like even now where we are in our position, like we get sent a lot of music by a lot of random people, and it's quite because I think you get stuck in a bit of a lot of this is going to be shit. Like I think like that's admittedly, like I'll be honest, if we get emails from random PR people all the time, the same people every single day, 3 times a day stuff, and you're kind of in the mindset of like, this is all going to be shit.
The majority of it is from there.
A lot of it is
the
really
people
bad
that we have on their list.
But then it's kind of like being in that mindset of like, it's that like mining for gold, and that when something does come that's good, it's quite easy to be like, even though it is good, to just be like, it's probably shit. I don't know, it's quite hard. Like, and I think sometimes like we've listened to music before, people have sent us music, and I've listened to it and I'm like, oh, it's shit. And then they've like messaged again with like another new song or something, and I've listened to that and I've been like, that's okay. Then gone back to the first song and been like, actually, that's actually really good. And then this is a new one again, and then I've done a third song and I'm like, that's good. And then all of a sudden I'm like, it's all good. And you kind of switch your mindset on people a little bit. Like it takes a few listens, it takes time. I said even like mood. Like I'll be in a bad mood and listen to a song and be like, shit, fuck off. And then I'll be in a mood of like music, and I'll be like, oh, that's good. It could have been the same song. You could have just sent it to us at the right time. 100%. Like it changes it, but like that's fine for what we do because we'll talk about who we want to talk about and we'll do whatever. But for you, it's almost again that extra layer of like, you've got to make that split-second decision correctly because, and that's quite hard. Like I don't think like that's hard for us to do. I'd be like, I'm gonna listen to it a few times. I'm gonna listen to a few different songs, but you've got to be like 30 seconds in. It's almost like, okay, what we're doing with this. So do you find that hard, or have you just really got that ear in for it now?
I think I will listen to everything through twice. I listen to everything twice, see how I feel about it, and then I'll try and split it up. So like first listen, I'll have like an instant opinion. I might write something down that I think about the track straight away, and I'll come back to it later on and then be like, do I still feel that way about it? Could I imagine myself like doing day-to-day tasks to it? Like, could I imagine this person at a festival? Could I imagine seeing this here, there and everywhere? Do you know what I mean? It's always
that's really good.
I always think about it, but it's a tough one with listening because like you say, you can be in a really bad mood and be like, right, no, turning that off, not in the mood. But you have to get yourself out of that mindset. And I think that's what I was talking about earlier with the consistency stuff. Like seeing artists consistently uploading good music is brilliant because you're like, you know something's going to come through and you know it's going to be good. And I think when an artist gets to that point, you're like, yes, like they're ready to move on to the next stage, whatever that may be. But those first few listens, they're really crucial. But I try not to form an opinion until I've heard it twice.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good idea, isn't it?
At least. And then, even then, if I can see potential in it, say if I'm a bit like uncertain, so I listen to something and I've trusted my ears and I think it's okay, me and Connor will sometimes chat about it and be like, what did you like about it? Do you think like somebody who was into this would like this? Like, and there's certain elements of like, how was the production? Is the vocal good? Like, what's hit? What could be added? And sometimes, you know, people have messaged and been like, what do you think of my track? Yeah. And I've fed back to them what I think of their track, and they've gone away and they've given it almost a facelift, and they've come back and it's like, yes.
Yeah,
like,
it is. That's amazing. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
But it is trusting your ears. And like you say, like your mood and stuff can always define it. So I always now force myself, like it's kind of the Spotify effect of some days I'll click on playlists that I probably like would never just ordinarily search, and I'll just listen to every track and like force myself to concentrate for like burst periods. Like I'll listen to half an hour of solid track after track after track, stop, and then listen to another half an hour later on in the day and stuff. And it always does it for me. Like I can focus for a certain period of time, but after a while everything starts to mash into each other.
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah. So it's an interesting process.
Really interesting, it is.
But like you say, like it's, you know, it's every genre as well, isn't it? It's like being across everything. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter what comes into the inbox, you've kind of got to be on top of why it's good.
That.
Like, I can't.
We get all the indie stuff, obviously, but like if someone then sent in like a grime track, I'd just be like, I don't even know how to. My brain is so not on that level now. Like it's just so moved on. But like that's it's another insane element. I'm conscious of time. I feel like we both of us are so unbearably interested. Yeah. I think obviously we want to get onto radio on this year. But that's what I was on what we're on now.
Well, no, what I was going to say was how I was going to try.
Amazing, perfect.
I had a segue. I was waiting. I was waiting for the space.
It's not our first episode, is it?
No, what I was going to say is that is all when it comes onto like a local level. It's something that's quite obtainable and quite achievable in that regard potentially. But when you were doing it as a national level, this Christmas was my segue across. What was that period like? How was that for you working, covering Jack Saunders' show, covering that period, because it's so much broader?
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience, and it was one that I really actually enjoyed because, like you say, Northampton is quite a small scene compared to your Londons, your Manchesters. But when you take that whole wad of the UK, and then you've got American artists, you've got Canadian artists uploading their music and sending it in and stuff, it's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? Because you will get hundreds of really good tracks in, but you have to choose the best of the best. And the real challenge actually was that show 3 of the Radio 1 stint I did this year, I actually let the listeners, the fan club, decide what they wanted to listen to. And the real challenge for me is that I didn't know what was going to come out. So I would have to listen to the track, decide what I wanted to say about it and why I liked it.
In the moment.
Yeah, in the moment while it was playing. And that was the biggest challenge for me, ad-libbing it and being able to actually just talk about it off the bat. You know, because you can prepare all you want, but when you love something or you're passionate about something, you can just do it, you know.
100%.
And that was the biggest challenge for me because I didn't know what was coming.
Of course.
They could have picked an artist that I'd never heard of, for example, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to have to say what I like about it. And that didn't actually... I think one of the artists that I'd heard a few tracks from, but I hadn't heard the tracks that had been picked. So I remember at the time listening to the track through and being like, what am I going to say about this? Because I really like this track, and like I think it was like a shoegazy kind of pop vibe and had like a slight indie twang to it. And I just thought, yes, like this track is sick. But what would I say about it? And if I wanted somebody else to go and listen to it, what would I say? And that was a real challenge for me. But the other 2 shows, like I got the opportunity to play Northampton artists on Radio 1 Future Eyes, which was sick.
That's quality.
And that was really special. But the whole experience of doing that, you just have a different level of like selection. Because I know in the Northampton scene, like if somebody's going to release music, they'll tell me if they're going to put it out
Yeah.
They'll tell me in advance that it's coming out, they're going to upload it, when's the best time to upload it. But like having everything to choose from is mad.
Yeah,
like you
so
guys,
much.
you obviously work within indie and, you know, people send you indie music and stuff. But like to actually have everything from everything.
I can't even, like, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So much music at the moment, especially because everyone's had that lockdown period where they're all making stuff, they're all doing things, so there's so much more than there probably was potentially before lockdown now.
And like I said about the responsibility on the local stuff, but on that, like, if for you to play that on that show, that can make or break people's careers. So that is literally like, if you pick someone out, all of a sudden that can really change their whole, whether it's only their perspective, whether it's everyone else's. Like, you could really make a big difference to that person by just playing them one time. Like, it's an insane thing to me that, like, you have that responsibility. Like, it must feel amazing, but also like quite stressful.
It's a bit mad, you know, when you think about it like that, because I just think about it as I'm playing a song that I really like by an artist that I really support.
Yeah.
And you don't actually think about maybe the impact that it might have, but I just always think, I'd love them to go on to bigger things. I'd love them to go to the next level and to help them get there and just be a really small part of that journey. It's just such a special thing.
Yeah, it's like, I remember when Sarpa first came on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we spoke to them about Jack Saunders playing them for about 20 minutes. Because, like, to us,
it was
like,
a massive.
It's a huge. It was one of the biggest things they've achieved. It was massive. Like, we were like, what was that like? And we spoke about the moment they found out, the moment they listened to it, the moment that, you know, they told their family they'd been on it, and like what that meant for them. And like, even our podcast, that's like a good section of like their career as musicians has built to a point of him playing them once in that show.
It's
like,
huge.
You know, now they've progressed to a place where, you know, he's playing them a lot now, and it's regular, and now they're fucking, you know. But it's like that, even at that point, that was everything to them, that they'd been playing on Radio 1. So that is like, and that's a band that are incredible, but like, you hold that kind of power to like make someone's career in that sense. It's an insane thing.
So strange to think about it like that as well, because like, as somebody who plays new artists and stuff and has had that opportunity to be in that position, I think the thing for me was that I just loved everything that I chose. Like, I loved everything I was playing, and the challenge on the third day, like I said, was because I just didn't know what was coming. But I don't think you ever think about it like that. I think you just think, I'm playing music, I'm going to tell people why they should listen to it, and that's that. Do you know what I mean? And you always hope, like, future artists is like where an artist will get played, and then they'll go on to the main station at Radio 1 and be played. But it's a mad experience just to think about it. But
it's meant. Would you be able to do that as regular as Jack Saunders does? Do you think, or do you think was it
going for his job?
You're taking his role.
Well, we did go to the same student radio station.
Well, there you go. It's there to be taken.
No, I think Jack has a really fantastic hold on everything he plays. Like, he's so passionate about everything. His music sales are unreal. He does it every day. It really is a dream, isn't it, to be able to support new artists day in, day out on a platform like that. But I just love the way he is. Like, I just love the way he sells music, and, you know, he always makes you think, am I missing out on something by not listening to this artist? And I always think that's the most special thing about being on a new music show like that. So I think one day I'd hope to be on something like that and do that.
For sure.
But I love working in the Northampton music scene at the moment, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of years it will just keep growing and growing and growing. And, you know, and like I said to you earlier, if I only ever just stay on introducing for however long, like, I'm the best person for the job sort of thing, and however long I can be passionate about artists in the area and keep pushing them forward, then that would be great for me. That would honestly be it. Like,
that is good. That is good. I think it's one of them ones where, like, you can see that there is that progression there to be made. Like, you can get there if you wanted to, but you are happy in this scene, and I think that's amazing. Like, it's a lot of people would be so grateful to be in your position. It's like one of the ones where you are like, this is my spot, and I love it, and I love where I am, and I think that's really good to see.
It's like with the Coverzettes and stuff, you know, like finding them and getting to play them and stuff, and to support them, and they were so grateful for that Radio 1 play on Future Artists. I finished my show with Sunstruck,
which is so wild as well. What a good
choice.
And it was so special to get to play them, because they've been grinding for years, and they're a fantastic set of lads. jobs. Like, they're absolutely hilarious. And to give them that opportunity to be played there on that platform was just incredible. It's one of the best experiences ever. And I think that was one of the special things about Christmas. And I think that's one thing that I'll always remember, like getting those opportunities to play people, like Kinships as well, another example. Fantastic, like indie alt electronica band, and they'd never been played on a national platform before. And to get to take them there was so special, and to actually share them with other people and people be like, oh my god, I've made a playlist of the tracks that you chose. It's so special.
And it's such a high energy show as well. That whole period is crazy.
It is.
Like the energy like that you put out over Christmas and that Jack puts out every fucking day, it blows my mind. And I think that's another thing that you just like, it's just a different world, isn't it? It's just a completely different world.
It's a really weird thing because some people say I'm a bit too shouty on the radio sometimes, because I am quite an energetic person naturally. But yeah, I do speak very quickly, and people are always like, you speak too quickly all the time.
I also think though that's potentially a local thing of being like Northamptonshire, because the scene is now blowing up. Music and live and up and coming stuff is now becoming a bit more of a thing. I think they're not expecting someone to be loud and shouty and to be energetic about it and actually love the scene and be like, this is what we're about, this is what's happening. And you get into that point now where it's having that energy and having that enthusiasm about the scene sells the scene to the listener. And I think it's fucking key. It's key.
I think it's everything. Like, I'm speaking from I don't listen to the radio a lot, to be fair. Like, if I'm honest, I don't. And the one thing I do like now with BBC Sounds, which is class, because I go back and listen to like Jack shows and shows that I see, and I'm like, I'll go back and listen to them. But like, you want it to be like an entertaining process now. I think that like you don't want it to be someone just quietly, slowly talking through what they're doing. You want it to be like, come on, let's, especially with the new music stuff, it is, as you say, it's like your job is to hype up these people and get people to be like, this is exciting. So how could you not do that if you're not excited about it? And if you're genuinely excited, you're going to be talking quickly and being like, this is amazing, let's listen to it, let's get into it, come on. Like, it's like that. That's everything for me about part of it. So
it's like you guys were saying earlier, there's so much new music out now. Like, why should I listen to this song? And you've only got 40 seconds to explain why a person should listen to the song. So you've got to make the most of it and get out the words that you want to get out. And I think that's the thing. Like, I remember when I started on the show, people were like, what the hell? You are so energetic. And I was like, yes, exactly.
Yes, I am.
And I think people often think, because I'm a girl as well, that I'm going to be a bit more meek and a bit more toned down about what I'm doing. But I'm like, no, hello.
And that's how you've got to be. And I love it. I just think it's great. I think that the whole enthusiasm, selling the scene, and especially in Northamptonshire as well, this scene is fucking thriving. It's thriving now. There's so much coming out. There's bands popping up all over the shop, and I just think it's, I don't know, I think you're doing a really important job in this area.
Smashing
just
it.
Like fucking, just as an appreciation thing. Like, you're fucking killing it. And especially taking it to the national radio and taking local people to the national radio. I think it's something that's fucking important, and I think it's quality.
I'm glad, boys. And, listening to you guys do your podcast, like, I listen to your podcast quite a bit, and getting to hear you interviewing bands from all around the UK, like, I think what you guys are doing is so important as well, because you are chatting to them and having that deeper conversation. Like, say if I've only got 10 minutes on the radio to chat to somebody, you're like delving into more about them. Like, I really enjoyed the Sarper episode and Low Girl as well. And listening to artists like that and getting to know them, I think is so important now, because you've got to, it's almost like in music now, you've got to be kind of good at everything. Like, when we only had the online platforms, people had to put their face out there and at the same time their music out there. And, people were looking for something different. People wanted to be excited. So, it's really important. But even with my show, like, people have to send me music for it to work, and people have to listen to that music for it to work as well. So, to be honest, like I said, my voice is the least important thing about it. Like, the music and the people actually taking and consuming that music are the most important things about the show. And as long as there's that enthusiasm and that like fire for it, then I'll stay in the job. But if there was ever a time where I was just sat there like, Yes, so that was. Then I think I'd know it was time for me to go. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
Yeah,
I like that, and that's a good message. Any band out here that's local, send your music to Kerrie because she listens to every single one. We've had
which
that
fucking
clarified,
blows my mind.
Amazing.
By the way, like that's fucking crazy.
Look, that's the opportunity. That's the pathway. Get on there, as you say. Nurture, build, improve. Get onto nationals. It's the pathway. It's a thing to do.
And even if you're not listening from Northamptonshire, like you will have a local introducing scene that is just as thriving, but well, maybe not quite as thriving.
Yeah,
but
it's there.
Do you know what I mean? You got to be there. You got to put it. It's one of them ones you actually do have to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you do.
And I think that's something that like I find quite nice about what we do is that we do have a plethora of like wherever and whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you can pick and choose. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like you've got to have it sent to you. And it's got to be on your books. Whereas, so if you're not sending it in, it's not getting played.
No,
and
exactly.
That's wild. And I think that's like, I don't know whether people actually realise that they have to send, like it's a like literal requirement.
It is, exactly, to send it in, but there have been times where I've actually poached people who aren't sending their music in and been like, cool. Yo, please why are you not sending your music to me?
Yeah.
And there's also people who are loosely connected to the music scene, because if you've got a connection to the area, even if you're not living there, you can still be played on my show. So like quite often I'll take artists who live in London but are from Northampton, or live in Manchester, are from Northampton, and I'll play them on the show because they're still part of our scene. And I think that's really important. Like right now we've got say 4 or 5 artists who live in Manchester but they are still making fantastic music and they need supporting. That music needs to be heard, and they're from Northampton, and I think that's so important as well.
We spoke about this before as well. I can't remember who it was that was speaking about it, but about the way the introduction works. And obviously that's the most beneficial thing that can happen, because if you're trying to make it in Manchester, even if you get played as much as possible there, getting your reach down here is like, that's a whole different kettle of fish. So like playing people from other places is more beneficial, if anything, because if you play, a Salpa, hope a lot of people who are into the scene in Northampton will know about them. Yeah. But Salpa, for example, being played somewhere else, or Coverset's being played here, as you said, in Manchester, they're probably more well known. But here, it's like people might not realise and might not have heard of them. So being able to be like, here they are. It doesn't matter they're not technically currently living in Northampton. It's like, he's from Northampton, they've got a link and they're fucking amazing. Let's get them out to ears that probably wouldn't have heard them. Like, that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's the most useful way of doing it. It is, and you've got to appreciate the people who were part of the scene, maybe moved away, because let's be honest, Northampton is not where everybody dreams of living. No. That's like, how many people say anybody?
Why? Where else would you live?
Literally anywhere else.
All I've heard is, it's really cheap for commuters to go to London and Birmingham.
I think that's what they're playing on.
The only reason Attenborough was built was because it was a commuter town.
It's mad, and to like actually live here and like be from here, I think it's really important to kind of remember those roots as well. Like, because people often think, there's not many famous people from Northampton around, but actually, if you look into it, there are. Like Tom York was born in Attenborough.
Yeah.
Mad. Yeah,
mad. I know. It's stupid. Like there is people that have come from this place. They've all fucked off, but
they were here.
They were like Alan Carr. Alan Carr is literally from like Shamrock Way.
Yeah,
so it's like you get to this point where there is people from the scene, and you've got to be proud of it in some ways.
It's like Alfie Templeman. I'm shotgunning him as ours, and he's going to be in here at some point soon.
Yeah, like come on, man. Alfie Templeman.
Can we talk to Alfie? Have you ever spoken to Alfie?
Never spoken to Alfie.
Well, let's sort it out.
Alfie.
He follows us and he's never been in
likes our shit.
He'd enjoy it. Come on.
Just ignores our fucking messages. The other one. All right, we're making pleas. Jack fucking Saunders. Right.
He wasn't available, so I'm here.
No. Hang on. Right, pull up my chair a little bit. We met you at Live at Leeds.
He did promise to come on.
He promised to come on.
He ignored me.
And he's now ignoring the messages.
I said, Jack, the thing is, if I DM you, you'll ignore me. And he went, I promise I won't. And then I DM'd him and then he ignored me.
You know what you need to do?
Listen.
You need to go to his Feedback Friday and just spam his Discord.
Twitch.
Yeah.
Just spam Twitch.
Imagine he brings one up and it's a podcast. He's hold on, this song's 2 hours long. What the
my
fuck?
god, maybe we do that.
Yeah, we should.
And we just title it like a track and a name and stuff like that.
Or this song we're gonna make that Kerry's gonna play, we then get it big enough that Jack then plays it, and then we're like, oh, it was us the whole time.
Yeah, just to get a ploy on you on a podcast, and you fucking sit. I'm not going through that type of effort, Joe.
Is the middle eight of the song going to be Jack Saunders? Listen to this.
Subconscious
backwards. I'm going to like spin it round like one of the old Beatle things.
At some point before the summer, Jack's going to be here. 100%.
Sat in this studio.
You'll love it. He'll love it. He'll see this.
He'll love it. We'll take him out in Northampton after.
No, we'll take him out in Wellingborough. That's what we'll do.
Oh my god, could you imagine taking him out like colours?
He'll love it.
Yeah, he'll love
Jack
that.
Saunders in NBs.
We'll start another Black Prince.
Oh yeah.
We'll start in Black Prince, then we'll go Gary Boldy. And then we'll do the trek from the Boldy to MBs to finish the night.
That's the pilgrimage.
The pilgrimage in Northampton.
On the Sunday, you take him for a roast at the Lamplighter to recover from it.
See, there you go. That's the plan. It's there. It's there. You know. You know what's going to happen when you get here. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can find a sofa for you to sleep on.
A very long, tall sofa to sleep on.
Oh Christ. Dear. Well. Rounding up the show.
We've taken up so much of your time already.
So much of your time already. At the end of our show, we always shout out a band that we think deserves, or an artist normally in the indie scene, that needs a little bit more respect or hasn't really been listened to as much or needs to be kind of shouted out to people to kind of like follow, listen to, get into. Who would you suggest to the listeners?
Well, you guys already know that I love Logo, I love Sarpa, I love the Covers. But I'm actually going to say that in our scene, I do think Rolling Thunder and Bloody Bath, both of them need a shout out individually because they're both fantastic in their own ways.
100%.
And I just think they're both young bands that are really going to come up and do their thing. And they've already crafted and honed their sound. So I think it's just a case of going to play their music now and streaming their music and getting that energy transfer.
I love that. I think like Bloody Bath we don't know as well. I'm definitely on the list to come in here. We don't know them as well. Rolling Thunder, did you
listen to the episode just before Christmas?
I did.
Fucking
they're the funniest fucking lads. They're so much fun. Like we've been out with them loads of times now. And generally like now their music is it's genuinely fucking good. Like That Come Back Again is one of my tracks of last year. I was obsessed with it. I listened to it so much. And like they're releasing music that is genuinely of a really high quality, and I quite like their attitude that like they're not really asked. Like keep saying like it's really good, you should do this, you should do that, and they're like, yeah, we're just having fun then, aren't we? And I'm like, yeah, but lads, I'm pissed off for you. Like, come on, let's get on this. And they're like, yeah, we're just having a good time. And
it's
I'm like, amazing. I love
yard act, isn't it? Just do it for a laugh.
See
where it goes, isn't it? And I'm like, well, yeah, but like if you push this, and they're like, yeah, we don't really get it. We just love the crack, and I just think that if anything, that's their real like
selling
sort of
point,
USP of like being like, you know, they're here to have a good time. Their music's really backing it up. So amazing. I love them so much. So.
I said to you guys I was going to see the Raytons at Roadmender at the end of February. I would have loved to have actually seen Rolling Thunder as like the first support on that stage.
Do we know who's supporting yet?
Yeah, they announced it today.
They announced it today.
Today it's Dictator, who we've spoken to before, and
they sent a load of sticks and stuff to us.
Yeah, they did. We know them. They're quite well. They're good at someone else. There was like, you know when they do 4 bands?
Yeah.
And then they do a shape for each band, and then they do each gig is a different shape.
You've lost me by that point.
And I'm like, fucking I was zooming in on their fucking thing earlier to see fair enough. But it was Dictator and someone else who was actually, who we have heard of. Can't remember who it is now.
No,
but all 4, to be fair, all 4 of the people they had on there were like bands that I've heard of and stuff like that, which is decent, so fair enough. But yeah, so that, which is sick, and I think they would have suited that, to be fair, and they will get on some sets that I think they will really suit them, and like they'll do well. But I quite like the fact that, fair enough, if they don't give a shit, then they're just gonna have a fucking good time and release good music. Then that's the dream, isn't it? So
it is. It's what every artist dreams about.
Yeah, this is it. Stone.
Who
are unbelievable.
Oh yeah, Stone.
I love Stone.
The Clockworks.
I played them on Future Artists on my last show. Stone.
Oh, did you?
Stone Equality.
They got an incredible reception. Like everybody, like on the Playbot on Radio 1 was like retweeting it and being like, "This is is sick.
They're so
good. And they seem really class as well. Like, they're one we want to have a chat with.
Bandit.
Ooh. I'm not sure who.
I mean, they're literally they're in the playlist at the minute, which is really sad.
That Bandit.
I assume so. I mean, they're called Bandit.
Yeah, the logo didn't remind me of them. If that is them, they're really fucking good.
And the Clockworks. And
they're good.
it is Stone. Not even Dictator.
It's Dictator.
Oh, it's that side.
I did exactly the same thing.
Who does that?
I did the same thing. I did the same because I was like, Stoner supporting, that's fucking sick. And I looked again and I was like, it's the other side. It's Dictator and someone else.
Oh,
really good tour.
Yeah.
I don't really have any specific
It's Clockworks.
Clockworks and Dictator.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which is sick. They're both really good. So go to that Reigns gig at Romender because it'd be very good and the supports are good. I don't have a specific band, but I don't really. And you fucked me a little bit because my phone's there from you giving the perspective of what everyone else is seeing. Maybe, hopefully, if it's still recording.
You'll just look at it and it will just be the backing behind you. It'll just say contains.
Yeah. Normally, Kerry, we'd have two other cameras,
three
and then
cameras
a wide
and a
angle
cameraman
and someone to work them, but he's busy, which is why we're on this. And that, I don't know what that's going to be like, so we'll see. But
this episode will be cut anyway.
It'll be absolutely audio.
It might be two parts, to be fair. Actually, I've been thinking about it. It might release Tuesday and Wednesday.
Or we just do 2 Tuesdays and then that gives us an extra episode. Cut that out. So I kind of want to give a general shout out to quite a broad indie music thing, and I want to give I want to give a shout out to 2 bands who are both going for #1 albums currently in the Sherlocks and Yard Act, who have both released albums this week. They're both trying to push it to be a #1 album. And both of those albums are fucking incredible. And from what I've seen today, Yard Act are currently sitting at #1. Yeah. That would be amazing if they get that, because I love their style of music. They're brilliant live. Like, they're really interesting, funny guys. But like the Sherlocks are like a bit of a modern classic as well. They're a bit of one of those that have never quite reached the heights of what they should have done. Like in my head, they could be like a Blossoms level. They could be like a kind of modern classic level. But
I actually saw, by the way, Yard Act got 2.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
Who got #1?
Years and years.
Fuck, I'm really gutted about that.
Do you know what, though? It was great to see the momentum.
Amazing. And I love their attitude. They tweeted the other day, I think it was yesterday, and they were like, we've got nothing witty left to say, just buy it or don't. I literally what they tweeted, and they were like, they're like funny lads, and they just got that sense of being like, listen,
this is it.
We had funny tweets, we had this, we had that. Do you know what? Fuck it all. Just help us. If you do, brilliant. If you don't, you don't. And fair enough. And, #2, still, what a fucking achievement for that band. That's
outrageous.
Incredible.
Just some lads from Leeds, really, just having a laugh.
Having a fucking crack and releasing really good music. And I think go and listen to their album and Sherlock's album, which is also really fucking good. And they're one of my, I listened to them when they had 2 demos out and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And they're fucking, they do what they do so well, and catchy indie rock tunes. And again, they're just a band that they were really, when they came and played Northampton, they were really nice. They came and chatted to everyone. They're class lads. So go listen to their album and Yard Act's album. And although most people probably have heard of both, still go support them, because both really good albums.
Well, there you go. I've got one that's a very, very young band from Northamptonshire, and it is Stereo Ghosts.
Oh, yes.
Very young, and they're actually, for a band that is outrageously young and released 1 song, really fucking good. I've been really impressed. With them, and I think their stuff on Twitter is pretty decent. They're still learning the scene, they're still getting themselves about, but they're actually playing gigs that are good sized gigs. They're supporting Naked Next Door, they're supporting artists that are of a decent caliber in this up and coming scene, getting themselves out there playing gigs. And I think that's the important thing that they're just nailing.
100%.
So I do think Stereo Ghosts are one to keep an eye on. When they start releasing some more tracks, they're one to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about them is that it's like the Tragic effect. With Tragic, they started when they were 15, playing gigs, and their sound has just changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
And they're at a really good place right now. And
Tragic are here next week.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
It'll be good, yeah.
I had Cameron on my show.
Did you?
Yeah.
There you go.
I saw him outside the Garibaldi, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Was he the lead?
Yeah.
We've chatted to too many people. Chatted to too many people in the Black Prince and the Garibaldi, way too drunk to be chatting to them about like
So
more serious
not
things. And
sober,
they'd be
yeah.
like, oh, we should have a normal chat with you.
I was chatting away because I didn't recognise him. I like a jacket. And he was like, oh, cheers, man. I was like, you look like you've been in a fucking band, don't you? And he went, yeah, I'm in a local band called Tragic. I was like, oh, buzzing. Well, I think you're on our show next week. And he went, am I? I went, Scratch Record Podcast. He was like, oh, is that you? I was like, yeah. Well, see you next week, mate.
Do you know what? I felt like such an unprofessional interviewer when I interviewed them because basically Cameron came on and I was chatting away to him for 10 minutes, did the interview. The interview was sick. Turns out I'd only been recording myself on Zoom, so you can only hear my responses and not his. So I had to make him do the interview all over again.
Oh no, that's so sad.
The only time on Introducing that an interview's gone to pot.
Oh my God, that's outrageous.
Crazy.
So if you guys turn your mics on, you'll be better than me already.
I mean, we did have a podcast that we recorded the entire thing and didn't record anything.
No.
And it was like an hour and a half worth of conversation, and then we had to be like, we'll reschedule, but can we give it like
a few weeks,
a couple of months, because if we have an hour and a half conversation again, it's just going to be really awkward. So we had to like push back and redo it. But we have done that for an hour and a half podcast. So
yeah, that was.
Yeah,
it's part of it.
Shit happens.
Learning curves. Well, we've hit the fucking 2 hour mark, which is outrageous.
Do you know what? You're in a bit of a 2 hour club. There's not many people who've recorded with for 2 hours.
No, everybody does it twice, maybe.
So,
well, when
congrats.
You check back the average listening time, it'll be like 12 seconds. So you'll be like, hello. What is this shit with her?
Definitely not.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Welcome to the 2 Hour Club of the Scratch Record Podcast.
I really appreciate that. I feel like a graduate of some sort of special scheme. Probably couldn't run any of this on the BBC. But,
definitely not. You're definitely not going to tell anyone on the BBC you've been on it.
I think genuinely, like, thank you for coming on. And I think it's a really important insight. It's really good for people that, like, not that we get millions of listeners, but for some people who are local that listen to you, to get to know you better is amazing. And for you to do it, because I think a lot of people on the radio is like, obviously you're doing what you want to do, so going on someone else's show isn't necessarily what you want to do. So to come on, we really appreciate it, and it's been a great fucking episode. I think people will really enjoy. Like, you get to know so many bands locally so well, but getting to know you better is really useful for everyone. So thank you for that. And
thanks for having me.
Anytime. Well, if you're still listening to the podcast 2 hours in, fucking very, very impressed. Yeah. It's a long slog, but make sure you're liking the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, put the notification bell on, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on, I was going to say Snapchat. Definitely not.
On Snapchat.
Right, goodbye, love you all, bye.
That'll fucking do.